Thanks for joining us. This is the AM News. Let's get into the details. Starting with the Attorney General has broken his silence on the Jakpa tape scandal, declaring he will prevail against elements he accuses of setting traps for him. Godfred Yeboadame, in open court yesterday, expressed his disagreement with lawyer for the third accused, Thaddeus Sori, who argued that the principal state attorney who deposed the Attorney General's affidavit doesn't have the capacity to do so. The AG addressed the journalist after the proceedings. Now, what did he say?
Out of the wicked, and that even though they've laid traps for me, I will flee from them. And righteousness will always prevail over evil. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Earlier, Joy News caught up with the third defendant, Richard Jakpa, in court, and this is what he had to say.
Do you
is in court, not in public opinion.
Do you
to determine that.
Sorry about that. Do you expect Mr. Godfred Dame to be in court today? Is that your expectation?
Well, he's supposed to be in court because he's Attorney General, and this issue is personally between he and I. You know,
if he doesn't show up, how would you feel if he doesn't show up?
The court to determine that.
Mm-hmm. So again, you want to reiterate that at the end of the day, you would be exonerated. You are not going to jail.
Because I'm an innocent man.
What do you make of the position that the tape you put out is a doctored tape?
Well, they are claiming it's a doctored tape. I didn't say that. So they should bring the original. You should tell the original to the court.
But why did you record the Attorney General?
Well, that is not for you.
He says you've been disingenuous.
But that's what he claims. If
that it was a private. It was a private.
Prosecuting innocent people. Who is disingenuous?
It was a private conversation, and now you put it out.
You claim it's a private conversation.
That's what he says.
Well, where private conversation, when it's a conversation that leads to committing crimes, it can no longer be private. It becomes a crime against the state. So it can no longer be private. So that private claim is neither here nor there.
The bottom line is you didn't tender that in evidence.
I'm not a lawyer. My lawyer knows his strategy, and he understands the court processes more than I do. So he's doing what is required by him. He has got his own strategy, and I cannot dictate to him his strategy.
So at the end of the day, you expect that you're going to walk?
Well, there must be justice, and I'm here seeking for justice.
So justice, anything other than you walking free will be injustice?
I cannot decide that I'm walking free. It is her ladyship who will decide based upon the evidence I used before her. The evidence will lead to that. And I know she's going to hold fidelity to the law. And that's what is expected of her. And that's exactly what I know she'll be doing. So I don't have any issue at all.
Are you looking forward to a face-off between you and Mr. Godfred Dame?
No, it can't be a face-off.
Face-to-face, let me put it that way, face-to-face.
There's no need for face-to-face. We are dealing everything in court. My lawyers will deal with it.
In court, in court.
But I cannot cross-examine him. My lawyer will do that. So there's nothing like face-to-face.
Have you seen him?
It's an issue of evidence against evidence. The game is about evidence, that is all.
Have you seen him since you put out the tape? Have you seen the Attorney General after putting out the tape in the public domain?
Not at all.
Has he reached out to you?
Not at all.
Have you reached out to him?
Not at all.
So there was a CJ, Justice of the Supreme Court involved. Has he reached out to you?
Not at all.
Well, there you have it. But moving away from that, government has directed heads of all senior high schools across the country to ensure every student plants a tree, nurture it till it grows before graduating from school. The aim, according to Lands and Natural Resources Minister Samuel Abdullahi Jinapor, is to whip up national consciousness towards conserving the environment. The minister made this disclosure at the launch of the One Student, One Tree event marking this year's Green Ghana project at the Boakwa State College in Chebi in the Eastern region. My colleague Edwin Kofi Sian reports.
The implementation of the One Student, One Tree project, which begins on Friday, targets all students in senior high schools, with each student tasked to plant a tree and nurture it till maturity. The initiative is to complement government's effort of planting 10 million trees this year as part of the Green Ghana project, and also to mark the Silver Jubilee celebration of the reign of the Ochehin Osagyefo Amwetia Oforipanyi. Samuel Abdullahi Jinapor, the Lands and Natural Resources Minister, who launched the project, tasked heads of senior high schools to collaborate with the Green Ghana Project Planning Committee for a successful implementation.
The importance of trees in terms of their contribution to fighting climate change, their contribution in getting us an environment and a planet and a country that can sustain lives and livelihoods cannot be overemphasized. And that is why I think it's absolutely important that we launch this 2024 edition of One Student, One Tree initiative. And the government has decided that across all second cycle institutions in our country, on June 7th, Friday, every student is expected to plant a tree. And not just planting a tree, planting it and nurturing it to maturity.
As part of his anniversary celebration, the Ochenhe, with support from the Lands Ministry, aims to plant 1 million trees. To begin with, Osajefo Amwetia of Ripein planted a commemorative tree during the launch of the One Student, One Tree initiative. He underscored the need to protect the environment since, according to him, natural resources are not to be exploited for personal satisfaction. He warned the continuous degradation of the forest and its associated climate change threatens the sustainability of the environment and survival of man.
Change. And you have a regulatory climate. And and a swording, any pessimicumia, any sikape bonnie, yet they say a Japadia. Nanso, as yet, TSSM. So what's Sika saying? So your Maya what is saying? So ma quiet bufu, no yami bufua, near Beton, on Yamanwaya, Dumnagana, the AC performance will be here. If you allow them to have, self-futuria, Mama said, don't be reckless and irresponsible and be greedy about what you can gain today and forgo what will let you survive.
Right. The acting programs manager in charge of non-communicable diseases at the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Ifua Kobi, has urged Ghanaians to make medical checkups a regular routine to prevent future health complications such as hypertension. She said during medical checkups, health personnel are able to identify hidden or underlying diseases and provide relevant medical assistance to avert complications. She made this call in Kintampo during a visit to the Regional Health Directorate. Now, Anasabit has more.
Hypertension is the leading cause of cardiovascular diseases. Nevertheless, most individuals in developing countries are unaware of their blood pressure status. Here in Ghana, the prevalence of hypertension in adults is reported to range from 19 to 48% across rural and urban communities, making it the most predominant outpatient condition in the country. More worrying is the fact that about 2/3 of Ghanaian adults with hypertension are unaware of their status and so are unable to take appropriate measures to manage it. Dr. Ifua Kobi is the acting programs manager for non-communicable diseases at the Ghana Health Services. She says the country recorded a total of 600,000 cases of hypertension between 2022 and 2023.
When we look at the OPD data, the number of people who come with hypertension keeps going up. Averagely between 2022 and 2023, across the country, we reported about 600,000 cases of hypertension. People coming to the health facility because of hypertension. Now, these numbers continue to worry us because we call hypertension a silent killer. It doesn't give you any symptoms at all. So by the time the person starts feeling a headache or palpitations or something like that, the hypertension would have gone on for a long time. That's how come we get the water shocks gone too soon, because people are coming into the facility with a stroke, which is like at the end of the spectrum.
Here in the Boone East Enclave, the region has seen a steady rise in its hypertension cases from a figure of 18,293 in 2020 to 26,318 in the year 2023. This puts the region's prevalence rate at 3.7 as at the close of the year 2023. Dr. Fred Adumakubuaten is the Regional Director of Health Services.
In 2020, the total number of cases that were recorded as having hypertension in Benin was 18,293. For 2021, it was 21,790. For 2022, it was 23,392. And then for 2023, it was 26,318. So if you look, 2020, it was 2.8. 2021, it was 3.1. 2022, it was 3.3. And 2023, it was 3.7.
He says having a sedentary lifestyle and the high intake of salt and alcohol contributes immensely to the rise in hypertension cases in the country.
One of the things that we know that the way that they take salt is too much. So one, let's reduce our salt intake. Secondly, so this is good for people who don't have, and it's also good for people who have. Secondly, physical activity, because sedentary lifestyle. We don't engage in any physical activity at all anymore, no? It's important that you engage in. And we are not talking about going to run 100 meters or 200 meters. We want it to be an activity. You can walk briskly, non-stop, for 30 minutes a day in your house. Lastly, let's avoid excessive alcohol intake.
Dr. Ifua Kome, however, admonished the general public to endeavor towards having routine checks to enable them know their statuses early.
People assume that we are walking about, we look so strong, so we cannot be sick. It is now that you are not sick that you need to check and screen. Get a medical checkup done once a year. I don't think that's too much cost when you compare it to getting a stroke and how much it will cost you financially, emotionally, psychologically, plus productivity also goes down. So it comes as a huge burden that we should encourage people to check.
Okay, thank you so much. Anna Sabit, Joy News, Kintampo.
Now, still in health, fertility experts warned putting pressure and heat on a man's manhood, especially the testicles, could negatively impact your ability to procreate. Fertility experts are warning against the wearing of tight skin underwear, especially among men, which they say leads to reduced sperm count and functionality of the male sex organ. My colleague Ohiming Tewia of our health desk reports.
Statistics from the World Health Organization revealed a global decline in sperm count since 1970. Experts warned the continued wearing of skin-tight underwear affects the male reproduction system. Fertility expert at the Accra Fertility Center, Dr. Kwesi Homia, revealed long-distance truck drivers are also at risk of infertility.
When you consider the male, the testis hangs outside for a reason, because it's supposed to be, the temperature is supposed to be slightly lower than the body temperature. So that is why the testis is made to hang outside. Now, if you wear these tight underpants, that brings the testis back to the body. That means the temperature of the body and the testis is virtually the same, which defeats the purpose for the testis hanging outside. So when you wear these for a long time, then it leads to poor sperm counts. Even the sperm could be, the counts could be normal, but the morphology, the motility could be very poor. It's the same with long distance drivers. Previously, the cars that used to have the engine under the driver's seat, because of the heat that comes from the car's engine, it tends to reduce the sperm counts.
Experts link factors such as poor and unhealthy lifestyles, among others, to the decline in sperm count. Speaking at the sidelines of a fertility conference organized by Jose Ghana, an NGO fighting infertility stigma in Ghana, a medical officer with the St. Anthony Catholic Hospital, Dr. Samuel Jedu Owusu, cautioned the public to stay away from junk foods and alcohol to improve their fertility.
Pertaining to lifestyle and fertility, you realize that most of the jobs that we do prevents us from being active during the day. It's most of office jobs. So what it does is that in the long run, you realize that you'll be building up fat, your blood pressure will be going high, all these comorbid conditions will now tend to affect the vessels that supply blood to these vital organs that you are talking about, your ovaries, your uterus, even the sperm, the testes that we are talking about. So in the long run, it serves as a comorbid condition affecting your reproductive organs, thereby rendering you incapable or inefficient in the fertility aspect. The junk foods contain more of unsaturated fats, which are harmful fats, and these, as I said earlier, will block your vessels and render you unhealthy.
Jose Ghana, as part of efforts to end infertility stigma in Ghana, is promising discounts on infertility treatment for struggling women. Emiliana Ayele Aji is the director.
It's very difficult to live with infertility, especially when you have married and then you are looking forward to starting your own family, and then you have certain ailments stealing your joy. They are, making it very impossible for you to have a child. You can imagine what is going on in many homes. We need to stop stigmatizing women. We need to support them. We should find out the best way we can support them so that this infertility issue will go away.
From Accra, for Joy News, Ohiminteria reporting.
In other stories, students at the University of Ghana fear they will be disenfranchised during the December polls since they were unable to register during the recent limited voter registration exercise. At a press briefing yesterday, the students' leadership claimed the Electoral Commission blamed their inability to register them on system shutdowns. There's more in this report by Adobia Asare.
The University of Ghana, like other public institutions, has a significant number of first-time voters. Despite the recently ended voter registration exercise, many students remain unregistered. John Ano Ansa is JCR president at the university.
There are 7 tertiary universities within this constituency as well, namely University of Ghana, Jakpa, Unimac, Radford University, Nats University College, Accra College of Education, and Dominion University. I want to state emphatically that lots of students were not able to register because anytime they come here, they join a long queue, and when it's 6 p.m., the EC tells us that the system has shut down because after 6 p.m. they won't be able to access the system. And looking at the high turnout, it has affected a lot of students. We are looking at huge numbers standing here because they are unable to register.
Meanwhile, some SRC presidential aspirants are also advocating for a vote transfer center on campus.
And when it comes to the transfer of vote that is already ongoing, it's so unfortunate that they are doing it at the EC's headquarters at the region, which I believe that is not supposed to be so. They are supposed to bring their machines down to the University of Ghana as they did the limited voters registration here, to make sure that most of the students who are coming all the way from Kumasi, like some of us who registered when we were in senior high schools, some of us who registered when we were in our various constituencies, some come as far as Nkranza, some come as far as Sunyani, Techima, in Kumasi, Takrade, and other environs in the north. I believe that they're supposed to give the opportunity to come and transfer their votes on campus here, rather than go all of them carrying their voters ID card to Rage to go and transfer their vote, which is so unfair to some of us because of the transportation, because of them missing some of their classes.
Ghanaian musician Guru, one of the SRC presidential aspirants, highlighted the hardship students already face and cautioned that the lack of vote transfer center on campus could further disenfranchise them.
For a student to drive all the way to Rage, I'm not sure it will be favorable or it will be a good thing to do, because these are students who are trying to live or survive. Transportation issues, is the EC providing transportation, free transportation that would have enhanced the decision of going to Rage, okay? And some of us coming from the village, and now these are difficult times. This semester is very hectic, so looking at the challenges, okay, the mishaps, if you don't consider the student, currently we are writing exams, I am writing, which is very crucial time. So if you don't find ways that will enhance re-registration, also helping us to vote, you are
rather neglecting the interests of every citizen of Ghana.
While first-time voters are eager to participate in the election, some students at the University of Ghana risk losing the opportunity to vote if the Electoral Commission does not address their concerns.
To begin with, the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers Ghana has disclosed that the recent upward review adjustment at the pumps is only a precursor of tougher times ahead for consumers as oil-producing countries begin to meet this week to cut down production in the coming days. According to him, the situation will get worse for consumers if the cedi continue to depreciate further. Now, Executive Secretary of COPEC, Duncan Amoah, called on NPA to halt increasing petroleum margins to save consumers from paying more at the pumps.
Pius, interestingly, there's a lot of anticipation for an OPEC meeting this week and further cuts in production numbers expected to be announced. And as I speak with you, the past 3 days have seen prices rise on the international market. If that trend should continue and the cedi also continues to remain around the 14, 15, 16 Ghana region, together with what we have added on UPPF, we simply will be looking for trouble as a people, especially now that gold for oil is also not impacting much. Bank of Ghana is reporting a certain 2.3 billion Ghana cedi that we have pumped in there, meaning that we probably have thrown that money also into a gold for oil program. And so whatever buffers that you and I could have had to save us from increases at the local pumps relative to increases on the international market, there seem to be none at the moment. Rather, we are increasing margins, and that for us is worrying and should be, reversed if possible.
Registrar of Companies, Jemima Ware, is advising companies to check from the office's website when getting into business with organizations, as the Office of Registrar of Companies embarks on an exercise to remove about 8,000 companies from its books for failing to file their annual returns by 1st July. Jemima Ware spoke to Joy Business.
Voluntarily, about 482 companies have written to us that we should take their names off the register. And only 3,367 have filed up to date. So we have companies that have not filed, over 6,885. That is for companies limited by shares, both public and private. Then we come to guarantee companies, that is churches and organizations and clubs. We published over 2,927 of them, and up to date, only 11 have volunteered to strike off, and 911 have also come to file. So I have about 2,000 churches and clubs and associations that have not also filed returns and renewed. That's what I'm talking of, over 8,895 of such companies. I'm giving them up to the end of June. By 1st July, we'll take their names off the register. Per Section 2895 of the Companies Act, once your name is taken off the register, you are not to do business with anybody for the next 12 years until you go to court, and it's at the discretion of the court that will direct us to reinstate you on the register. So my advice to businesses, if you want to do any business with anybody in this country, please check from our website, www.orc.gov.gh. So my advice to all businesses, before you sign on any contract with any company or business name, check from our website, www.orc.gov.gh, whether such a company's name has been taken off the register or whether they are in good standing. You can always find that one out from our website. I do not desire to take names and businesses. My prayer is that they will all try and renew before the 1st of July.
And it's a wrap for the AM News on the AM Show. Coming up next is the news review segment. Don't go away.